Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Lord, it is NFL cut day as all 32 teams go down to 53 men, or it is the day that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged to a lot of you guys out there. Hilarious timing, right? Like Travis Kelce, it's like all his buddies, oh, cut. It's like, yeah, but I'm getting engaged.
Don't call me with your problems.
Yeah, that is some third world stuff over there. We're over in the big boys. But congratulations to them. We did get some ominous news on Kaleb McGary, and we didn't know the timeline on what was going to happen. And it sounded like we were waiting on some sort of decision from him or the doctors or something. But he's headed to the IR without a designation to return, which means his season is over. So this problem that we've been talking about dating back to last week just got exponentially greater. Storm Norton, we've talked about, out for 6 to 8 weeks. The Falcons did make a trade for Michael Jarrell, a 6th-round pick last year that started in 3 games. Guys, he sucks. So what do the Falcons do here? Because in my opinion, I look at this trade for Michael Jarrell. He's not a starting guy. I know Elijah Wilkinson, he's a third-string guy that's now looking like the starter for the Falcons. Now that we know Kaleb McGary's on the IR for the rest of the season, there's got to be something else. And I'm not saying it's going to be great. We talked all the options are not going to be good, but there's got to be something else. Something.
I don't really know what you do because you don't have a ton of draft capital, and the options are going to be slim to none. I mean, you saw what was available out there, and it's a guy. It's not like Seattle is famous for developing offensive linemen. No, I mean, it is like, if he didn't work out in Seattle, he must be so bad. Maybe Dwayne Ledford can, put some lipstick on a pig, and who knows what can happen. In my mind, you're really just trying to Band-Aid this thing until Storm Norton comes back. And in best case scenario, that is the 6 week, earlier side of the 6 to 8 weeks. So it's 6 weeks. And, we were saying months ago when the schedule was released, this early bye week is hell. You want it somewhere in the middle so that you have a real. This is perfect. As I was saying the entire time, this was a perfect bye week. Now you basically have to, get through 4 or 5 weeks, and I think you hope Elijah Wilkinson can get you there, and then when Storm Norton can return, you slot Storm Norton in there, and then you just roll with the punches, because what are you going to do? You're going to go trade for a guy who has multiple years of control. Well, Kaleb McGary just signed an extension. You're going to pay a guy, who just got cut? No, because you have Kaleb McGary. Like, there isn't an easy answer. I don't know what you do. I guess I would assume they roll with Elijah Wilkinson until Storm Norton comes back and just lean on that bye week.
Yeah, I mean, if there were a right tackle that they thought was serviceable, like legitimately serviceable, that was a backup right tackle, maybe the best swing tackle in all of football, and we're able to poach him, and that means giving up some legitimate draft capital, talking about, a mid-round pick, a 4th-round pick, 3rd-round pick, 5th-round pick, whatever it is. I would imagine that the Falcons, knowing that Kaleb McGary is out for the season, would be interested, because, as we said yesterday, there's a lot more on the line here. I mean, we're talking about the franchise quarterback. It's not just in one sense. You've got Terry Vano needs to save his job. He needs to make the playoffs. I mean, we don't have our 1st-round pick next year. Like, this gets really ugly if we don't make the playoffs. That's one thing. But then you also are like, I got to protect who I think is going to be the future of my franchise for the next 10 to 15 years, who's had injury issues in the past. So to me, it's such a dire and such a big need that, as a fan, and I think as the Falcons, if there is someone out there might not be anybody out there worth doing this, but if there is someone out there, I got to imagine with Kaleb McGary on the IR that they at least are seriously consider that option. But it's very possible that nobody's out there, because even backup swing tackles, like, if the Falcons were in this position right now, like, they wouldn't trade Storm Norton to just about anyone. Like, they'd be like, nah, we need him, because if one of our tackles goes down, or God forbid, 2 of my we need guys like this for this exact reason. So it's very possible nobody else is available. And as we mentioned yesterday, it's going to be a team effort from the jump. At least in those first 4 to 5 weeks, when you're looking at the schedule, the Bucs don't necessarily have the most ferocious pass rush. The Panthers don't, but Brian Flores and the Vikings are going to be to argue that that's going to be hell.
But there's individuals on every single one of those teams that you just named. There are individuals who are worth worrying about. And Nick Bosa, maybe not once, Joey Bosa, maybe not once what he was, That guy healthy is going to make whatever right tackle we look like. He's on the Bills now, if you're unaware. That game is scary because you mentioned it. We all want to win, but let's call a spade a spade. We're not Super Bowl contenders. We're not. Okay. Well, maybe we are. Maybe some of you believe
Scratch that. We're editing that out.
Okay. But like if the Bengals had this or the Bills or the Chiefs or the Eagles, well, the Eagles have 4 starting tackles probably, but just saying one of these, top 5 in terms of odds to reach the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, they are like, oh yeah, we'll trade a 3rd round pick like tomorrow. But for the Falcons, you're weighing like, well, I don't know if we can really win it all this year. Like, are we really going to start continuing to mortgage the future? But even more than that, I think you nailed it. The health of Michael Penix Jr. is now paramount, not just for the longevity of his career. He is a quarterback. You suffer a serious injury as a quarterback to your lower body. Generally speaking, you're able to overcome it, especially if you're not a Lamar Jackson or an RG3. We saw RG3's leg injury basically end his career. Michael Penix Jr. is not that. He's a pocket passer who can run. Alex, well, that wasn't even the injury. That was the infection. I mean, the infection nearly killed him. It wasn't even the injury itself. That's beside the point. The point is, now we're talking about development taking a massive... This year is so important for Michael Penix to start gelling with Drake London, gelling with Zach Robinson, gelling with the offensive line, Bijan Robinson, maybe Kyle, I don't know, Darnell Mooney at least. Like, this is much more important than just 2025. This is about the future of the Atlanta Falcons. And this year, you saw what bad offensive line play can do. Joe Burrow tore every single ligament in his knee.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan, you saw it throughout his career. I mean, when Matt Ryan had an offensive line, he was the Matt Ryan that won the MVP. He was the guy that threw 35 touchdowns and 7 picks, and we were like, oh, yeah, like that guy's a Hall of Famer. But when Matt Ryan didn't have an offensive line, and there were a lot of years where there were some really bad offensive lines, he sucked. I mean, and it's impossible, especially, and that's a guy that we're talking about that was a borderline Hall of Famer. We're talking about Michael Penix, who's a first-year starting quarterback. Like, if in week 1 he can't start relying that the guy behind him isn't going to block and it's going to be a sack, and he's got to just have this mental clock on top of trying to read defenses, which he's only done for 3 games at his career, like, he's going to be seeing ghosts out there. Like, there's no way. I mean, it's going to be the Sam Darnold meme, like, and it's not Michael Penix's fault. So it really couldn't. We've said it several times. I don't think it could be a worse. There's not a worse position on the offense, really, where the Falcons could afford a serious injury, not just to their first string guy, but also their second string guy. And that's the situation they face themselves. And that's going to be, unfortunately, the number 1 talking point going into week 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And until Storm Norton comes back, and it'll still probably be the number 1 talking point, because we're not talking about an all-pro and Storm Norton. We're talking about a backup tackle.
He's still a hell of a lot better than I think what we're going to see with Elijah Wilkinson. I am nervous. I am quite nervous. I'm fearing for Michael Penix's safety. I think people don't quite realize just how bad it could be, because this isn't like, oh no, he just has to, Elijah Wilkinson just has to, take the worst pass rusher. No. These defensive coordinators are going to line up their best pass rusher on our worst offensive lineman. And if Zach Robinson does not protect Michael Penix and Elijah Wilkinson, is going to be a long day. And I said it yesterday, or maybe 2 days ago, whenever we did it. This is going to be something. This war is going to have to be a team effort. Michael Penix Jr. is going to have to be counted on. He's going to have to do a little bit more work at the offensive line pre-snap than he was probably going to be counted on. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier are going to have to step up in pass pro. Chris Lindstrom is going to have to do even more. Charlie Warner, Kyle Pitts are going to have to actually chip some guys, more so Kyle Pitts. Charlie Warner could probably slot in at right tackle, but this is going to be an all-hands deck approach until Storm Norton gets back.
Yep. No, it is bad. It is bad. It has gotten dire in Atlanta, and that's some terrible news on Kaleb McGary. I thought there was at least a chance he would return at some point, but he will be not. The rest of the 53-man roster has ironed itself out. We're going to talk about some of the biggest waves, releases, and what this means for the guys that made the team. So we do have the Falcons 53-man roster. Kaleb McGary obviously not a part of it. But the biggest surprises were actually a couple of off-season free agent acquisitions, which the Atlanta Falcons didn't make many of them, not making this roster. Now, you can look at that two ways. One, it means they feel confident in some younger guys taking those spots, that they don't even need the veteran presence. But Morgan Fox and safety Jordan Fuller were cut, which means a lot of reps for Brandon Douglas, Ruka Roro, Zach Harrison, Leonard Floyd, James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker, all across that defensive line. And a lot of reps for two of the younger safeties, which is Xavier Watts and DeMarco Hellams. We'll see who ends up getting that starting safety job. Hopefully, I think we both believe it's going to be Xavier Watts, but DeMarco Hellams has had some good moments in a Falcons uniform and missed all of last season with an injury.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it was DeMarco Hellams. And no disrespect to DeMarco Hellams at all, but Xavier Watts was a day 2 draft pick for a reason, and DeMarco Hellams was a 7th-round draft pick for a reason. And, you know, I like the way DeMarco Hellams plays, but he plays with a kind of aggressiveness that could really be burned against a starting quarterback who knows what the hell he's doing. I mean, you got Xavier Watts there, and he's modeled his game after Jesse Bates. What a way to learn, right next to the guy that you model your game after. I think that they really did this because I think you've got a 4th safety already on the team in Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman, you know, in an emergency could, you know, you lose 2 of those guys in Xavier Watts, Jesse Bates, or DeMarco Hellams, and Billy Bowman can go back there and start in a pinch. I mean, that's clearly what they're doing. And I think more so than Morgan Fox, I think this is really encouraging that they're like, wow, Xavier Watts can start right away. I mean, right away. We are going to see at least 2 rookies starting week 1 and possibly even 3. We're talking Billy Bowman, we're talking Xavier Watts, and then probably James Pierce Jr., depending on the early downs. But I mean, all 4 of these rookies are about to get some serious run.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exciting. I think that's really what I took away from this 53-man roster, because there wasn't too many surprises. I mean, I looked at this and I was like, that's about exactly what I thought. I mean, I know people wanted to see Nick Nash make it. He had some moments, but at the end of the day, the Falcons are pretty set at receiver. Chris Blair is another receiver that had some moments, but nothing there that I'm sitting here scoffing at or upset about. The biggest takeaway to me was that we're going to see the 4 rookies that we thought were going to start and play significant snaps. They all have pretty defined roles going into the season. So we said this defense was going to be defined by young players, particularly this rookie class, and it looks like we're going to see it. And I love the fact that they're not hesitating to throw them all into the fire. And yes, there's going to be some growing pains and some mistakes, but at the end of the day, these 4 guys, this is the type of draft class when it happened. We were like, this could shape the Falcons defense and get it out of the gutter finally. This is the kind of draft class we needed, and we're going to see it early on.
Yeah, I mean, go across the defense in terms of the guys who are on their rookie deals who are going to be counted on. You've got whoever's starting in the slot, probably Billy Bowman. You've got Xavier Watts on the back end. You've got Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Brandon Douglas, Arnold Ebiketie, Ruka Roro. All of those guys are on rookie contracts right now. DeMarco Hellams is on a rookie. You're exactly right. Like, that is a lot of youth. And, you know, you said it, growing pains, sure, but excitement in terms of, you know, this is the kind of stuff where we had a young defense in 2016 and 2017 with a couple of veteran pieces, Caden Ellis, David Onyemata, Leonard Floyd, and AJ Terrell, and Mike Hughes. So it's a good mix of youth and experience on that side of the ball where you finally feel like that kind of looks like some semblance of a defense where it's like, oh, we might actually win a game because of them instead of, you know, just hoping that we can score enough points so they don't cost us a game.
Yeah, and it's a nice change of pace.
Yep.
I mean, let's be real. Over Terry Fontenot's entire tenure, we have seen guys get drafted pretty high, especially in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds, come in, and if they start, they're absolutely abysmal, talking about Jalen Mayfield, but for the most part, not play, and a lot of them play very sparingly before they're cut from the entire roster.
Especially on the defense. Like, if you want to give Terry Fontenot his roses, offensively, he's been pretty damn good. Matthew Bergeron finally coming into his own. This is a year that everybody should really expect him to take a pretty substantial leap. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, top 3 running back. Drake London, I think he'll cement himself as a top 10 wide receiver. We're all excited about Michael Penix Jr. Tyler Algier is another one. Not Drew Dalman,
But
excuse me.
Dalman was.
Yeah. No, he was you're right.
Dalman
You're right.
was.
God, it feels forever ago. But yeah, defensively, I mean, there is nobody. Nobody has, any semblance of like hey, they could start in this league for a long time. And so this is refreshing.
Yeah, and it's been the single biggest, problem in Atlanta for Terry Fontenot's entire tenure. I mean, they had some success with Ryan Nielsen. I think a lot of that had to do with Ryan Nielsen and some of the veterans, but the pillars of this defense were either bought in through free agency, high-priced free agents like Jesse Bates, or paying a guy like Caden Ellis, which were good moves, but they're expected. When you give guys money, that kind of money, they're supposed to come in and be really good. You can't get too much credit for that. But the one pillar that was drafted is AJ Terrell, and that wasn't Fontenot. That was the parting gift from Thomas Dimitroff. So not too many surprises, but some excitement on the defensive side of the ball. These rookies are going to be big contributors in 2025. Alex, you walk outside here in Atlanta, it's 60, 70 degrees, 80 maybe on the high end, but it's starting to get cool. There's a little chill. It's not painful to walk my dog, which is very nice. I'm not sweating. I actually was able to take him out of the walk without being drenched. So football's here. Fall is coming. And week 1 is just around the corner. We got some huge matchups. Let's stick, though, with that Friday night matchup. We'll talk about the big ones on Saturday. Georgia Tech and Colorado. I know you're high on the Jackets. I'm high on the Jackets. You go all the way to Boulder. Kind of a sneaky Friday night game. You know how that crowd has gotten up there for Deion. Is this a sneaky situation where you could see, Georgia Tech slipping up here?
I don't. I just think of the playing styles and now Colorado's got a new guy in there, a new quarterback. So, you don't quite know what to expect. Warren Sapp has got his hands on that defensive line. These are all true things. But if it's the Colorado from last year, it's a Colorado team that is soft in the middle, soft at the line of scrimmage. And this is a Georgia Tech team that punches above its weight class. We saw that with Georgia. I mean, Georgia is a super heavyweight world champion of whatever, world champion. And you got little old Georgia Tech who probably don't have a more than, 6 guys on the entire roster who are over 300 pounds. That's just the nature of the beast. When you don't have quite the recruiting that other schools do, they punch above their class. I hope everybody is all over Colorado. I really do. Because this Brent Key coached football team, they're cut from a different cloth. They're cut from the same exact cloth, of the Saban Bamas. He coached under Nick Saban. You think this guy is just some soft guy? No. Listen to him talk. He's got that same bravado where Brian Kelly's over there sitting like, this might be the best LSU team we have. Kirby Smart's going, we suck. We play a game this week. We're losing. Brent Key's the same way. Brent Key's, these guys suck. They have no idea, they have no idea what's coming. And that's just a tactic. I mean, maybe he believes it a little bit, but this is you don't have anything earned. You have to go out and earn it. Nothing is given to you. And Haynes King and Jamal Haynes and Buster Faulkner are the 3 pillars returning for Georgia Tech that are just going, they might rush for 300 yards on Friday night.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the way that I envision this game and the way that Georgia Tech and the way that Buster Faulkner is able to be creative in the run game to kind of mask their deficiencies, which might not even be deficiencies in this matchup. They might be able to just absolutely bully Colorado up front because that's what we've seen, as you said. But even if Colorado does push a little back, does show a little fight, it's a week 1 game. Everybody believes they have a chance. A lot of these kids are transferring in. They're playing for Deion Sanders. They're going to be playing in front of a packed house. There's starting to be an expectations built for Colorado. And I do think Deion Sanders, we're both big fans of him and what he's been able to do. So you can't come into this matchup sleeping. And I think that's what Brent Key's trying to do. Because for the first time, and we've said it, we're both up here. We've been praising Georgia Tech probably as much as anyone that doesn't care about really the program. We hope that they're good. But there's no one here that went to Georgia Tech. Yeah, I know. But there's no one here that went to Georgia Tech, right? Like we believe that there is some possibility for them to make some noise in the ACC. And with success, with people that haven't experienced that level of success and expectation, It's easy to kind of pump yourself up. It's like, you know what? We actually are pretty good. We did take Georgia Tech to 8 overtimes. We did do this. We are legitimate contenders. And it's like Colorado ain't crap. And you walk into that snoozing, you get caught. And that happens to a lot of teams at week 1. So it's not one that they can just go in there sleepwalking. But I'm right there with you. I just have the faith in Brent Key and this coaching staff to have his guys ready and just do what they need to do to win, which is run the football and take care of the football.
Yeah, they got a new defensive coordinator. Hopefully that guy can, make the most out of, what little talent they have on that side of the ball. A couple of transfers on that side of the ball. Maybe that helps. If there is one area where this Georgia Tech team was susceptible, it was that defense. And I think, Brent Key, is obviously an offensive line coach, so he's just got that mentality. His team has adopted that, roughed up, bloodied nose mentality, and I hope the defense shows a little bit more of that. But that's where this game is going to be lost, I think, for Georgia Tech. It's that if they can't get a stop against this Colorado offense, that will surely be able to throw the ball around the yard.
No, there's no doubt about that, and I agree with you. That's going to be the most intriguing thing, not just for this week and winning this football game, but Georgia Tech in the long run, if they're going to be an SEC contender, is how does that defense? Can they live up? Can they give you the same type of grit that we've seen from them offensively? Can they play above what maybe they were recruited as? And where they're going to get an opportunity, because if there's one strength, and it's been the strength of Colorado the entire time, it is their offense. It's being able to put up points. And they got 2 quarterbacks, not one, 2 quarterbacks that we could see out there on Friday night. And both of them can sling it. Both of them have a ton of talent. And they know they're going to need to score points to win, because that's how they've been playing for the last several years. We're going to talk about some of the big week 1 matchups coming up on Saturday. The best week 1 of college football in the history of the game. That's how you know it's great. I mean, this is a long history, and it's the best one. And it's coming in just a few days. Week 1 of the college football season is funny because we've been talking about these matchups for I don't know how long, 5 months. I mean, there's been different points in different months. We've had kind of a slow news day, and we're like, let's just look ahead at this crazy week 1 schedule. But we're finally here, and we've talked about it in so many different ways, but new information comes out. You start to hear rumors about this guy looking good. We know who the starting quarterback of Ohio State is. In any of these matchups, are you feeling like where are you at now as we are now officially 3 days? And I guess we can start with Texas and Ohio State in terms of how you think this game is going to go.
I don't have a good pulse. The pulse check on Texas and Ohio State, because you've got 2 quarterbacks in Julian Sayin and Arch Manning that, Arch has played, but you don't know what you're getting with either of these guys. And you know that both of these rosters are top 5 at worst. They could have the best roster in the country by season's end, depending on how injuries and the quarterback play shakes out. But this is a heavyweight slugfest. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. My heart tells me, that, a little part of me is the SEC homer where it's like, I want the SEC to just shut the Big Ten up. But my head says, this is an incredibly, incredibly difficult challenge for Arch Manning. I don't care how savvy Steve Sarkisian is as a play caller. Eventually, Arch Manning is going to have to make decisions and plays without the crutch of maybe the best play caller in college football. Now, does that really matter? We know Steve Sarkisian is not going to hold anything back. He will empty the clip in week 1. He is not saving plays for the SEC championship, because in his mind, probably, I'll just come up with new plays. That's just a luxury Texas has. They can empty the clip week 1. And Ohio State, on the other hand, you know what you have all over the field. And if you're Julian Sayin, I mean, just get it to your guys. This isn't hard. Just get it to your guys and maybe give them 50-50 balls.
I just can't get over how lucky we are that Arch Manning, one of the most, first of all, he's a Manning, maybe the most hyped up prospect we've ever seen before he's ever played a legitimate game as a starter. And that first game is on the road at Ohio State, the defending national champions, which, like you said, you could not get a more difficult test because, Arch Manning could go out there and look like crap this game. And I still think Texas could be 87 times better at the end of the season, right? But first game against Ohio State, I know everyone's high on Arch Manning, but I watched him play against Mississippi State. Wasn't that impressive. I watched him play against Georgia. Looked like he was seeing ghosts out there. And that was at home. Now you're on the road against Ohio State, the defending national champions, who have been hearing all along, coming off a national championship, about Texas and Arch Manning and how great you are and yada, yada, yada. So but in the same vein, Arch has all the opportunity right here in front of us on Saturday to prove everybody right. Everybody that's believed him, everybody that thinks he's going to be the next coming of Jesus Christ. He could literally go out there and actually look like a lot of people believe he's going to look like. And if that's the case, Ohio State's going to get run out of this yard. If this is the way that I believe Ohio State wins, this is a defensive battle, because I don't believe Julian Sion's going to go out there and throw all over Texas. I just don't. I know Jeremiah Smith's a god. Maybe he gets free for a couple plays, but I think it's going to be a struggle a lot of the day for them offensively. The way they win is make this a defensive battle, win the turnover margin, get the crowd on their side, and get the momentum going. That's the way that I see it. It's incredible. I have no idea the way it's going to go, though. I really don't. I don't. I side with Ohio State and the home team and the defense and Arch Manning just maybe not living up to his name right off the rip. But I wouldn't mind seeing it happen. Like, it would be fun to have, a legitimate, the next Manning, show up and live up to the hype, because it's been like LeBron James type hype coming out of high school. Like, and then a lot of it has to do with his name. But if he lives up,
he's pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend this guy is, getting all of this praise because he's nothing. I mean, at Newman, this guy was an absolute stud, and you see the potential. That Texas spring game, the kid's got a Sunday level arm to bode with athleticism that we have not ever seen from a Manning. Maybe Archie,
maybe Cooper.
Archie was mobile.
Cooper was a wide receiver.
Yeah, but certainly not the Peyton and Eli. So this is a kid who has all the intent. This guy has the intangibles, tangibles, and he's got the head coach to boat. I mean, he's got everything. It just might be insurmountable pressure, because this is going to be 110,000 screaming. The only thing I have to complain about this is a travesty that is being played at noon. A travesty. I mean, what are we doing, guys? Let's read the room here. This is the biggest game potentially of the entire season. This is a baby national championship, and we're playing it at noon. There's some people Texas people are going to be waking up in Austin trying to watch this game at 11 a.m. Central Time. What are we doing?
It's a travesty. It's ridiculous. It's beyond absurd that Fox is trying to convince us that, people watch Big Noon. Yeah, well, there's no other games. No, stop it. Stop trying to.
If there was ever a time to make this a night game,
well, I'm pretty sure Texas said nah. I'm pretty sure Texas said no, we're good.
Well, I'm sure Texas said no. Ohio State should be furious.
I think they had, I think it had to be agreed upon or something like that. I'm pretty sure Texas went out there and said, no, we're good. Played at noon. And I don't blame them. I mean, that's what I would do. That's exactly what I do. We got some more. I want to know what your thoughts on Alabama, because I've heard some murmurs about Gus Malzahn returning. We got any upset alert for the Crimson Tide? So, Alex, for the longest time, I didn't realize Gus Malzahn was the OC at Florida State. And you heard the noise about Thomas Castellanos. He won't stop talking. Like, at a certain point, if I'm Mark Norvell, I'm Gus Malzahn, I'm like, you know what, just pipe down. How about no more interviews for you, Thomas Castellanos? And I know that's they're required of him, but it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we trying to poke the bear a little bit more? But I'm very interested now in this game, because we do have Castellanos, who, if there's one thing that he's very good at, it's being a mobile quarterback. And then you have Gus Malzahn, and if there was one thing that man loves, it is a mobile quarterback. Is there the potential here at home where Gus Malzahn can dial up some stuff, bring back the spookiness of Jordan-Hare Stadium with them to Doak Campbell Stadium, and somehow get out there and win?
I guess there's a chance. There's a chance I hit the lottery. There's a chance I end up with, some supermodel. I mean, let's all get back down to earth here. Tommy Castellanos is 5'6". Alabama's got guys who are 300 pounds who are as fast as Tommy Castellanos. This is a heavyweight versus a lightweight. And there's no disrespect to Florida State at all. They're a proud program coming off a very bad season. They've reloaded. Mike Norvell may have made a coaching change that benefits him against some ACC stuff. But this is an Alabama team that looks like a Nick Saban team on the depth charts. You've got an all-American all over the field defensively. You could have one of the best receiving cores in the country. You finally have some stable offensive line play. Kalen DeBoer's got his buddy Ryan Grubb back, who was OC in Washington, helped Michael Penix to a near Heisman trophy, to the national championship. And you've got a guy who everybody's just forgetting about was a 5-star. Did everybody forget that? I'm blanking. Quarterback. Ty Simpson was a 5-star. I guess everybody forgot about that because he's been on the bench. Yes, he's a 5-star. Tommy Castellanos, great story. This is not Boston College. This is not the same matchup whatsoever. This is a completely different weight class. This is a game that Alabama is going to absolutely dominate, from the trenches to the coaching to every single facet. That crowd is going to be nullified in the first quarter, maybe the first half.
I agree. I tend to agree. I mean, let's put it this way. That's what should happen, because you're right. The talent in the trenches, it's unmatched. There's going to be, despite these programs that should be, neck and neck, they're not, especially when you look at the trenches defensively. This Alabama team might have the best defense in the country. I do have a lot of high expectations for Ryan Grubb coming back and Ty Simpson being a more pocket passer, which I think DeBoer and Grubb much more appreciate than Jalen Milroe. I think this receiving core is arguably the best in the country, and they've got plenty of running backs. So the skill position group is up there with anyone. There's no reason this game should be close. I also don't trust Mike Norvell as far as I can throw him, which isn't very far. I mean,
you could probably throw him very far. He's tiny.
What he's done to this program is an abomination, frankly, from where it was a couple years ago. I mean, half their roster is just like ragtag transfer portal guys, and they haven't recruited at all. I mean, it's a mess over there in Florida State. I think that the demons Gus Malzahn can bring might have worked against Nick Saban, but I think those things are now in the past. And I agree with you. I think this one could get ugly, because I know DeBoer struggled in these small games, especially on the road, where maybe the team is, going in there.
They just beat Georgia. Then they're going to sleepy Nashville.
But this game, week 1, after what happened last year, being a disappointment, all the new pieces going into Florida State, I don't think you're catching them sleeping. I just don't. Like, they've had all offseason. If they do, it's time to have a conversation about Kalen DeBoer.
Kalen DeBoer is, I think, the second best coach in the SEC. Now, you might think, well, what about Steve? He's beaten Steve Sarkisian twice with lesser talent. He's beaten Dan Lanning twice when the whole world was picking Oregon in the regular season. And then in that Big Ten champion, or the Big 12, Pac-12 championship, excuse me. All of these guys are in different conferences now. But this is a guy who has no problem going into the bright lights. No problem. That Vandy loss, inexcusable. 1 week after playing a very, very, very tough game against Georgia, where now you are the number 1 team, and a Vandy team that is so scrappy. You're not catching him sleeping. And don't talk about the bowl game. Bowl games do not matter for some schools. It just doesn't matter. And I don't want to minimize what Michigan did in that game, but it didn't matter to Alabama. It didn't matter.
It doesn't matter to really either program.
No.
What are we doing? We're talking about, what was that, the Outback Bowl? I mean, who the hell cares what happened in that game? I'm with you. I think Alabama gets it done. I think they get it done handily. I think this is one that could get out of hand really quick. But I'll
give you a score prediction, 42-10.
I will say, the loser of this game, depending on how they lose it, if it's a big blowout for Alabama, or if it's even a close win for Alabama, big blowout, Mike Norvell. I mean, we've got to start having the conversation if we haven't already started having that conversation. And if it's the other way, where Florida State keeps this close, or in some weird world wins this, that hot seat for Kalen DeBoer could not get hotter with the rest of the season.
It's a win-win for me.
Yeah.
I'm either right or I get to dump on Bama.
Yes, and that's always fun. We will talk about the biggest game of the week, right? Not Ohio State and Texas. LSU and Clemson coming up after the break. Biggest game of the week, as everyone is reporting, LSU and Clemson at the fake Death Valley, little brother, over there in Clemson. I got to admit, Alex, as we approach, we get days closer. I'll be up there going to watch LSU probably lose for the 6th straight year. I do it every year like it's clockwork. And I always say I love it. And then after the game, I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I spend money and travel to go watch this team? But that's what college football is all about. When they finally won one, it'll be the best moment, right? Like, we start off 1-0. It's been, nearly a decade. I'll be an old man if I'm not already an old man right now. How are you feeling about this matchup just a few days away?
Not great. I don't know how LSU fans can. I aspire to have that level of ignorance. There is no reason in hell we should be confident of going in and being the best Clemson team they've had since that Trevor Lawrence team went to the national championship. You've got Cade Klubnik, who is arguably one of the best, arguably the best quarterback in the country. They have a receiving core that is reminiscent of those older Clemson teams when they had the T. Higgins, all the guys. I'm blanking on all the guys. More importantly, this Clemson defense is the Clemson defense of old. This is a Clemson defense that is reminiscent of those ones that absolutely manhandled Nick Saban's Bama. I mean, this defensive line is going to give an LSU offensive line that is breaking in 5, 6, 7 new starters. Hell, I am not comfortable at all. Yeah, we have Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah, we have great receivers. Guess what? Doesn't matter if he doesn't have time to throw. I mean, I'm really looking at this defense who's got some new faces, who have got some inspiring guys to really be the difference and slow down this Clemson offense, because I do not think it's going to be easy for this LSU offense. It's not going to be easy.
I agree with all you. Everything you said. I mean, I think the defensive line in particular against this LSU offensive line that has more questions than it does answers. It wasn't good last year. I mean, they were decent in pass protection, especially on the tackles, but they couldn't run the ball for crap, and they lost their two best players in Will Campbell, who was a top 5 pick, and then Emory Jones, who was over there at right tackle. So they're breaking in an entire new offensive line, and they're doing so on the road in one of the most hostile environments against a really good defensive line. You're right on all that. But I do want to push back a little on Clemson, strictly because I don't know where necessarily all of the hype is coming from, because I did watch Clemson play last year, and yes, they have a lot of guys returning, but a lot of those guys returning that are all hyped up weren't very good last year. This is a team that only scored 14 points or 10 points or whatever against South Carolina in their own building and lost. This was a team that got blown out and absolutely embarrassed by the worst Georgia team we have seen in a long time. This is a team that in their own building got completely embarrassed by a Louisville team that finished unranked. This is a team that gave up, 30 points and nearly lost the game against SMU, who was not a very good football team. They didn't have any impressive wins last year, and they lost every game or looked bad in every game against a competent ranked opponent. So, listen, I know college football isn't like guys get better. I mean, we're expecting the same thing from LSU. They didn't do great in their big games. In fact, I would say they're two very similar teams in that aspect. But I do think there's this hype that Clemson is going to come in there and all of a sudden they're going to be the Clemson of old. And it's like, last year they weren't that good. They shouldn't have been in the college football playoff. They played in a crappy conference and barely beat SMU. They lost to all 3 SEC teams that they faced. I'm pushing back on the Clemson's this vaunted team. Now, going on the road and beating a good team in week 1, LSU hasn't been able to do that at all. They can't win a neutral site. They can't do anything. I have no faith in them all of a sudden turning the tides in that manner and playing a competent game in week 1. And I do agree with the defensive line. I just want to push back on Clemson being this world beater team.
Let's take away the depth charts, both of them. Who the hell do you trust more?
Can you think of a cornier matchup?
Yeah, both of these guys are going to say some absolutely ridiculous stuff pregame.
Absolute cornballs between.
I don't trust Brian Kelly at all. This guy doesn't. I get why Notre Dame was not too sad when he left. I get it. I hate rooting for this guy. This guy is an absolute buffoon. Until he proves otherwise, this guy is just a bunch of inflated wins. All-time winningest head coach, my butt in Notre Dame history. Let's see it, buddy. This guy has fallen on his face at every opportunity. The only real one that I was like, good job, his first year against Bama. The rest has been an absolute embarrassment.
Yeah. Listen, you're not going to get any arguments out of me. Like, in a weird way, even though he's corny and I can't relate to him, and he's not the kind of football coach that I usually fall in love with, and he wasn't.
Win and I'll love you forever.
Yeah. I kind of want him to turn, make that turn, finally get over the hump and maybe, have the success that a great football coach, we really haven't had him since Nick Saban. Les Miles and Ed Orgeron were jokes. When we still were able to win. If Brian Kelly is a great football coach, he's been touted up because of his record and stuff, he should be able to win multiple national championships here. And I'm hoping for that turn to happen, but I'm right there with you with every passing year, and especially every passing week 1 game, I become less and less confident.
Win or else.
Die.
Literally.
That wraps up our show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Roscoe, for the bark. We will be back with you tomorrow.